Hello, my name's Colin Crithers, and I'm a student reporter and broadcaster at the University of Iowa. As a journalist, my job is to tell stories, while also balancing everything else going on in my life as a student. But no one tells our stories. So, my goal is to tell the stories of the student journalists, broadcasters, and storytellers all across the country. Let's walk the student beat. Well, welcome in. Today we are walking the student beat with Daniel Barnard of Ohio University. Daniel, how are you doing today?
I'm good, man. How are
Well,
you?
I'm pretty good. You and I know this, and I think a few people listening will know this is a little bit of a long time coming for this episode for us because last summer we were partners broadcasting for the Hamilton Joes, which we'll dive into later. But first, as usual, I want you to introduce yourself with the basics and the journalistic outlets you've worked with.
Yeah, man. Like you said, I'm Daniel Barnard. I go to Ohio University. I went to Moeller High School. It's where I kind of got my start. And I know you're an elder guy, so that might not fly too well. But yeah, I mean, I got my start at Moeller. Going to OU now, Scripps School of Journalism. And yeah, I just it's really kind of a long story, but broadcasting's always kind of been my goal. Ever since I was a kid, just hearing Marty and Joe on the radio, driving home with Dad in the truck at nights and stuff like that. It just I don't know, it just got my kind of got my love for broadcasting going, and one thing led to another at Moeller, and I was able to get going. So I'm happy for that. We can obviously talk more about that as we go, but um, I've been broadcasting since my junior year at Moeller. I'd say a lot of baseball, a lot of basketball, some football, a lot of different sports. But yeah, it doesn't feel like it's only been 4 years, but it's only been 4 years since I've started. And that's a good thing. It's been a fun 4 years, and I'm looking forward to many more.
Absolutely. And I know you said it's a long story, but we're going to talk about it anyway. So you mentioned
Yeah,
we are lucky as Reds fans to have some of the best radio and TV broadcasters in the league.
absolutely.
So would you say that's the main reason maybe you wanted to get into broadcasting, or was there something different there as well?
Um, yeah, I can't point to a main reason that I wanted to get into broadcasting. I mean, you said we're lucky to have such a great crew. We still have a great crew too. Like it's not just like Marty was like end all be all, right? Like Tommy Thrall and the Cowboys still on there. They're still terrific. Um, I mean, honestly, Colin, I would say that like one of the biggest like I feel like a lot of people when they want to get into broadcasting, they hear like a specific call or like a couple different specific calls. They're like, man, that was super cool. And for me, it was Tom Brenneman's call of Jay Bruce's walk-off home run to clinch the playoffs, to clinch a spot in the playoffs over the Astros. That's like the call that I always go back to, like the one that got me going. Um, but I always kind of knew that I wasn't going to be. Baseball's my sport. I always kind of knew playing baseball wasn't going to be for me at the next level, but I know I wanted to stay involved somehow, and broadcasting was the next best thing for me. So, a combination of that and just hearing some iconic calls and stuff like that just kind of really sparked my interest and got me going.
Absolutely. And then you mentioned getting your start junior year at Moeller. What exactly did that look like? Well, what was your foot in the door there? Then also, what was your foot in the door at Ohio? Because I bet that's not exactly the same experience.
Yeah. So at Moeller, I didn't get started, like I said, until my junior year. I tried out for the baseball team my first 2 years, my freshman, sophomore year. It didn't work out for me. Moeller's just got a really, really good team, and I wasn't my little 5'7" self wasn't good enough for the squad to be on the field. But yeah, so like I said, I just wanted to stay involved some way, and like any way that I could. And luckily, I had a really good mentor who's still there. His name's Barrett Cohen. You probably know him as Big Mo Barrett. A lot
Okay.
of people know him as Big Mo Barrett around the Cincinnati area. But he's of broadcasting experience, whether it's like news anchor or he was a finalist for a public address announcer role a while back. Like he's got his fair share of experience, and I saw a post from him. It was like the middle of the school year. It was like the winter, and he was starting up the WMOE Moeller Broadcasting organization. He wanted to hold a an information meeting, and so I went to that, and kind of just the rest is history from there. I started the first ever broadcast that I did was a sideline for a basketball game. It was we had students on play-by-play in color, and then I was down on the court doing sideline, and I didn't know what I was doing. I'm just down there with a microphone in my hand, thinking I look cool. But I mean, it's just so yeah. So that's how I started there. I did a lot. Basketball wasn't my main thing. Actually, that was the only basketball game that I did. It was baseball that was the big thing for me at Moeller. I was part of the first fully student run broadcast, and that was a baseball game. So we had student producer. I was the play-by-play. I had another student next to me doing color, and I mean that was all we had. We only had one camera that we would just set up on the back net. It wasn't like we had a producer, director, five different cameras around the field. Like there were only three of us. Numbers were limited, but that's how I kind of got started at Moeller, and then that led into OU, which is um, I mean, everybody thinks that it's tough to get opportunities in college, which it is, but with Ohio, there's so many students that are into journalism and broadcasting, but there's so many different opportunities. So like for example, there's WOUB, which is more of like the television, like the show type of thing where you're doing like highlight shows and stuff like that. And then there's Ohio Bobcat Studios, which I'm in, which is more of the on-air sports broadcasting side, which surprisingly to me, there's a lot more in the WUB section versus the sports broadcasting side of things. So there's not a lot of numbers competing with me, I'd say. And I was able to, and I mean, I don't want to say that as like, oh, I'm terrible. I didn't have to compete with anybody. Um, so I just got it because of that. But like, um, that's kind of how I got my start was through Ohio Bobcat Studios. We do like almost every single sport at Ohio, whether it's live or recorded. Like football games, we'll do practice calls, and those will be recorded, but they won't be live because Ohio has their own football broadcasters. We'll do that for like football and basketball, but like we do sports in the fall, like I mean like all of them, like volleyball, soccer, field hockey we get in there. I'd say that's probably the most surprising one to me that I've gotten going. I know you've done your fair share of field hockey games as well. Um I never thought that I would do a field hockey game in my life. And then I get to OU and it's just availability is the best ability. So you just got to expand your range, and I've learned field hockey. I started doing that. Um, all the winter sports we've done too, swim and dive. And then the spring sports, softball, baseball, we do that all. We do all that. So that's kind of how I got my start there. Was just kind of weaseling my way into the group and um, building relationships and just getting going there. Long answer, but it's
It's
there
a
it
good
is.
answer. It's a good
Yeah,
answer.
yeah.
No, the field hockey thing is so right. I remember getting up there well, how about this? I went back to Elder this past semester and
Mhm.
walked into they just started a broadcasting class this year. So I went in
Yeah, it seems like
like,
they always do that right when we leave,
I
right?
know, right? As soon as we're going, like, oh, we'll do this and that now. Yeah, right.
Moeller makes a whole new innovation hub as soon as I leave. whole new building with a new broadcast studio. It's like, what are we doing, guys?
It always feels like they're
Yeah.
just waiting for you, like the like, all right, where's this kid at? Is he out the door yet? And if not,
Yeah,
hold off on the future.
exactly. Has Colin graduated yet? Okay, now we can do things.
That's what's gonna happen at Iowa again. So what's gonna happen at Ohio again? Watch, watch. Um,
Yeah.
but no,
Yep.
I
Yep.
went
Yep.
back and like was talking about whatever, and this one kid raised his hand and asked, "What's the coolest game you called on Big Ten Plus?" And I'm like, "Can I? What about radio? Can I like what about a radio game? Because Big Ten Plus, you're only getting like so many of the games." He's like, "No, Big Ten Plus," and I was
Mhm.
like, I didn't know what to come to mind. I was like, field hockey? Like
He
a
didn't let you juice
clinching
it
field
up.
hockey game? I kind of blanked on one of the basketball games, but I was like, field hockey comes to mind. It's been a lot of fun. But I mean, the nice thing with student journalism is that, like, for especially with what we've done, you get to meet a lot of different people from a lot of different schools and areas of the country.
Mhm.
So one thing that you maybe that you've seen or noticed that makes Ohio different after having a bunch of conversations with maybe people like me from Iowa or others that we met in the GLSCO, what makes Ohio so unique and special?
That's a That's a good question. And honestly, I'm just going to go back to my last answer, which is just being so diverse and having so many different opportunities for students. It's not just one big broadcasting group, and it's like we're going to handpick two of you guys for this, and the rest of you guys, sorry about your luck. I mean, there's so many different things for everyone to do, and I think the ability to pick and choose what your passion really is, not only just for broadcasting, but what type of broadcasting you want to do, whether it's the like being a news anchor or being a sport like a sports anchor on a news segment, um, or doing a highlight package from a high school game, or if it's like my side of things, like play by play on TV or the radio, or being behind the scenes, like production wise, being on camera or being on replay. There's just so many different opportunities. And then around the area too. I mean, I work with a local radio station that's down there, and we cover a lot of high school sports on the radio. There's just so many different things for students to get involved with in terms of broadcasting, and I'd say that that's like one of the biggest things that separates Ohio from a lot of other schools, at least that I've seen, is just the amount of opportunity that's out there.
No, it's a lot. It's impressive with everything there. And I know you already mentioned maybe a few people who've inspired you or you've looked up to, but the other part of meeting people is meeting mentors and in college having professors
Mhm.
that really help. So has there been someone who's really pushed you along in the beginning of your journalism career?
Yeah, I mean, I would say in high school it's been Barrett Cohen at Moeller. But in terms of at Ohio, we've got and I don't know his official um I don't know his official sorry, I gotta pop up on my computer. I don't know his official title, but Sam Hyman has worked really closely with a lot of us at Ohio in the on-air play-by-play side of things. He's had a lot of experience in minor league baseball at, I think he said he's worked at Vermont University doing play-by-play stuff, but um, he's had a good amount of experience, but he's not to the point where he's like out of touch with the younger generation. I mean, I don't know how old he is, but I'd say he's only around his upper 20s, his high 20s, as far as age goes, and just kind of being able to relate to someone like that that's not too much older than you, but he's also still kind of like trying to figure out his path and his journey in the broadcast industry. Um, Him offering all of his advice that he's seen in his first whatever 5, 6, 7 years of being in the real world, so to say. He's been a big help with everything that he's had that he's had to offer us.
Absolutely.
So
Now,
not just me, but everybody else involved in the Ohio Bobcat Studios as well.
No, absolutely. That's a nice thing too. Is like I love like the people that aren't just there for like one individual person. They're helping out a lot of
Yeah.
people. I know at Iowa we have a few what we call like our coaches at our TV station that
Hmm.
help that are really good for a lot of people. But I mean, you mentioned the play-by-play, whether it's radio or TV, and this is the part I love talking about. That's what I also love to do. But when you're preparing to call one of those games as play-by-play for whatever sport it may be, what's something that someone might not see behind the scenes in your prep work, or what's something that you would share that the average viewer wouldn't know?
Well, I mean, it's what you said, it's the prep, right? Like people watching a game or listening to a game aren't gonna see the prep that goes into it. I mean, it's countless hours of researching each player on each team. Like college baseball's got 40 players on one team, and you don't know who's gonna play. You don't know who the starting nine is gonna be. You got to have research on every single one of them, whether it be hometown, high school, uh, what they've done in their collegiate career, stats, like all that kind of stuff. There's just so much time and effort that goes into it. I would start, if there's a weekend series, it starts on Friday at 3 o'clock at in Athens. I'm starting my prep work on Monday just to like, so I'm not doing it all on Thursday because it's a lot. Like it'll take me several hours to do. And it's also, I mean, it's also good to do that because you don't want to get overwhelmed with it and not get everything that you need, even if you want to try to do it all at the same time. There's things that you'll forget or there's things that you'll think about as the week goes on. But um, I mean, it's just the amount of prep work that goes into it and the fact that you're only going to use like 10% of what you actually research, but it's just being prepared. Um, it's a lot tougher than it looks. It's fun because it's fun to see all the interesting stuff that's been going on, but it's tough work because you have to tell the story as a broadcaster, and um, you you don't want to necessarily jip a certain team or a certain player. You want to make sure, excuse me, you want to make sure that you've got all the information available and that you can tell their story and so that and then interviews with coaches too. Those can be tough in their own. Knowing questions to ask, how to bounce questions around, but yeah, I mean the biggest thing is just the amount of prep work there is.
Absolutely. And I mean, I think you listened to Johnny Tim's episode as well, and I
Yeah.
as well. Is there anything special in your prep work or anything that really works? It's unique to you.
In terms of like my prep work,
Yeah, I guess in terms of your prep.
um, I mean, in order to like do my prep work, like I use Excel, um, and I just make different boxes with stats. Like I'll have a player's number in a box, their name next to it, stats underneath. But I mean, like I said, I'll split it up during the week. Like I'll do 10 players a day just to make it work. And that I mean that's worked really well for me. But I mean there's no like I wouldn't say there's been like a secret method or anything like that in terms of getting it done. It's just knowing how to space it out right so you're not doing 3 hours every single day of just straight prep on top of all the homework you have to do. I mean, it's all about time management for me, honestly, with my prep work. So nothing too special about it.
Absolutely. Now, I think I'll ask the question that kid at Elder asked me when I went back: is there a favorite game that you've called potentially?
Oh man, I gotta dig in the memory boxes for that one, man. But
It's a tough one.
so there's been so many. I'm not trying to like sit on a high horse and be like, oh, I've done so many games. Like there's been so many big moments. Um, I would say one of my favorites was a field hockey game, Ohio women's field hockey versus Ball State, and it went into overtime. So getting to call a game-winning goal, and Ball State won. But we're on ESPN Plus, so we have to be neutral, right? So Getting to call a game-winning goal was really cool. This past spring, I called a baseball game versus Butler, and Ohio walked it off in, I think it was the 10th inning. Um, but they walked it off there. So, I mean, it's always super fun to get to call a walk-off. Um, I wouldn't say that there's like one moment that sticks out to me necessarily, but for me, I love calling the games that have dramatic finishes. And everybody will say, oh, yeah, that like everybody's kind of the same way with that. But I love the big moment. And those are the two games that stick out to me right off the top of my head that provided that big moment.
Yeah, I mean, they're so much fun. I mean, how can you
Yeah.
not? I mean,
Yeah.
if you can thrive in that, you're pretty good for most broadcasts in general.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. You got to bring the energy, and those big moments kind of bring it out in you.
Yeah, I know. Sometimes I'm sitting there, like I've learned this from a few professionals I've talked to is if you think a big moment might be coming up, whether it's a basketball game, it's a tight score, or it's a
Hmm.
3-3 ball game in the bottom of the ninth, you want to figure out what you might be saying beforehand before you just try to go for it. Because I also kind of learned that the hard way. Josh Dix, men's basketball player at Iowa, hit a buzzer beater, and I had no idea
Yeah.
what I was going to say, but it came out fine, but I was like,
Yeah.
okay, I could have probably prepared something different for that moment.
You try to plan out that kind of stuff. You just got to let it come naturally, you know? Like I'm saying you in terms of like just broadcasters in
Yeah.
general, they're always like, "All right, so what would my walk-off call be? This is what I want to say." And then it just kind of sounds scripted, you know? Like you just want it to sound natural, just like flow. You know what I mean? And um I mean, another one I thought of as you were talking in the high school side of things, I do Athens high school football, basketball, and baseball on the radio. And this past football season, they had a really good year. It was like their first really solid year in quite some time. And they were playing one of their biggest rivals, Nelsonville, York, and it came right down to it. I mean, going into the game, Athens is 9-0. So it's their last game of the season, and Nelsonville York is like 8-1. So they're battling for the conference and came right down to the end, back and forth the whole game, and it ended with, as time was expiring, it ended with a touchdown to win the game. And granted, it wasn't Athens scoring the touchdown to win the game, it was Nelsonville York. So it was a bummer in that sense, but like I said, just the big moment. It's cool to call that walk off, whether it's in baseball or for the walk off touchdown, just anything. I mean, it was a controversial play. Some people didn't think he got in, but they called him in on the field, and just having that big call is it's just so much fun. Bringing
Absolutely.
the energy is my favorite part.
Absolutely it is. It seems like you just keep getting like a lot of really cool moments just for the opposing side of the teams you usually are calling
Yeah.
for.
Yeah, just the wrong outcome. We had a couple of them with the Joes last summer.
Oh yeah,
We had a couple, we had a good you had a walk-off call. I had one in the championship game. They uh walked it off. It was a 10 run rule to win the championship. So I guess there's that. But we had our good share of walk-off calls last summer too.
we absolutely did. And I'm gonna hold off on the Halen and Joes for one more thing real quick because you
Yeah.
I mean, you're working with high school radio and also Bobcat Studio and ESPN Plus, and you're balancing all this as well as balancing being a student and your other responsibilities in life. So, from your perspective, how do you balance those two things?
Time management. Like I was talking about with all the prep and stuff like that, spreading out how many players a day you do. Just really just blocking out a couple hours each day during the week if you have a broadcast coming up. That way you're not all cramming it into one day. Um, it can definitely get to be a lot during the week, especially if you have a lot of other homework to do. Um, I've been lucky, or maybe I've just been good with time management. I haven't had a ton of work this spring. Well, I didn't have a ton of work. outside of class. I mean, classes were hard, but I mean, I guess I had a good amount, but just being able to spread everything out evenly so it's not all like staring straight down the barrel at one time. It's just kind of been how I've made it work and how I've been able to stay afloat.
Absolutely. No, but I mean, we definitely have had a lot of great moments with the Hamilton Joes, as you brought up. So first, reintroduce that for listeners that don't know who the Hamilton Joes might be, and then how you got involved with them.
Yeah, so the Joes are a summer collegiate team, just college baseball players from wherever coming in to play in the Great Lakes Summer Collegiate League. It's teams that are, I mean, you could draw a circle around Ohio, um, halfway up into Michigan in Muskegon, uh, and then yeah, I think that's they don't have any teams in Indiana. There used to be the Richmond Jazz in Indiana, just across the border, but they're not in existence anymore. So it's 8 teams in Ohio, 6 teams in Ohio, and then 2 teams in Michigan, combined into the GLSCL. And it's funny. I'm sitting in the dining hall at Ohio my freshman year, and there's a guy, Cade Williamson, who called games for the Licking County Settlers, um, who were a team the year before you called games with me. The Settlers were in the league. They weren't in the league the year you were with me. But he knew the guy that was doing the Joe's play-by-play at the time and knew that he was on his way out the door, headed to bigger and better things. Not that there is anything bigger and better than the Hamilton Joes, but um, but he knew he was on his way out the door and gave me the contact of the GM, and I hit him up, so to say, and got the role there. So I did the summer after my freshman year, which would have been 2023, and then I stuck around last year, did some more games with them, with you. Um, and then this year, I kind of wanted to have something different on the resume. Not that the Joes weren't good on the resume, because they definitely are. I just wanted to have some more things that I could point at, and so I'm back in Moeller this summer. But yeah, I mean the Joes get teams from or get players from all over, and I mean it's so much fun just to be around college baseball players all summer long. And they're a good team, and I mean yeah, that's kind of how I got my start. Just knowing people, networking, and ended up in Hamilton.
Absolutely. It is a lot of fun being around a bunch of those college players, especially you'll know the name. Like Paul Osting was our main center
Yeah.
for last year when he was transferred to Western Illinois and they came up to play at Iowa, and I was on the call for that game. And Western Illinois ended up like they were struggling really bad at the beginning of the year, and they upset Iowa, and they kind of
Hmm.
went off on a tear at the end of the year. But they upset Iowa, and he made two phenomenal like diving plays back to back, and like did well at the plate. So getting to talk to him before and after the game is part of those connections you make. But one thing I like about broadcasting, especially going to Iowa when I'm from Cincinnati, is I'm meeting people from all different areas. I mean, I'm calling games with guys from Minnesota, from Iowa, from Illinois, who knows? But back at Hamilton, your first year, you called games with a guy from out of the country. So how different was that for you?
Yeah, I called games with a guy from Norway, and that was definitely different. His name's Max, and it was a lot of fun actually, just getting that different perspective on what broadcasting is like in different places even. I mean, he came over just looking for an opportunity. Like, I don't want to say he came over um as like he lives full time in Norway. Like, he goes to school in Boston. So he was looking to stay stateside during the summer and was just looking for any opportunity there was during the summer. He ended up in Hamilton with me, and um, he didn't know baseball like we do. I mean, obviously being from Norway, it's not as big over there, right? So it's soccer over there. So I kind of had to teach him as we went, but he kind of got the hang of it as the summer went along, and it was a lot of fun. It was definitely a different experience, but he got there as time went on, and we had a good summer together too.
Absolutely. I had to throw it in there for you, but I mean,
Yeah.
whether
He
it's
had
that,
he had a couple he had a couple of phrases that still stick around to this day. Um, if a big play happens, it's oh my goodness. And it's the max special. That's what we would call it. It would happen every single time a big play. That's just that's how you know it's max on here.
that's how you
And
knew.
it was fun. Everybody's got their little thing. That was his thing.
Oh my God. Well, I
Yeah.
mean,
Oh my goodness.
yeah, we
Oh,
definitely
yeah.
all have our own little things. I have the stutter effect and announcer's jinx every now and then, but whether it's
I bring the announcers jinx to the table with me too.
no,
I've had
half the
quite a
broad-
few instances.
I know. I think half the broadcasts I've done, I've brought up how I have an announcer's jinx, and then later do it. Like I will bring up something like, oh, I'll just talk about it, and like, oh, that's another announcer's jinx. Like I'll preface that it's gonna happen, and it'll still happen. But
The funny thing about the announcers jinx is that I had an experience um calling an OU baseball game, not this past season, but the one before. And I was calling it with the voice of Ohio, Russ Eisenstein. Um, at the time he was the voice of Ohio. He's now moved on, but he would do football, basketball, and baseball. And during the broadcast, I look at him and I'm like, "Do you believe in the announcer's jinx?" And I made probably the biggest mistake in my broadcasting career by asking him if he believes in the announcer's jinx because he looked at me, shook his head, and went on a tangent about how unreal the announcer's jinx is to the point where he opened the window in the broadcast booth, looks down into the stands, asks some of the fans if they believe in the announcer's jinx. They say yes, and he's like, "There's no way." And then 5 minutes later, we're talking about a kid at the plate he's in a slump, right? He's 0 for his last whatever, and it's a base hit. So I kind of just sit back and I look at him like, "You still not believing the announcer's jinx?" It was just a funny story. I mean, it's all good. Like it was all good fun, just poking fun. But that's the one that when I think about the announcer's jinx, that's the first thing that pops into my mind. Is how I was working with him. He opens the window, asks people in front if they think it's real. They say yes. He still doesn't believe it, and then a kid comes up who's over his last 20 and gets like it's just funny.
no, there's like so much evidence of it at this point. Like I feel like it's
Yeah.
not to believe.
Somebody talks about a no-hitter on a broadcast. It's like, why would you say that? Like everybody said, why would you say you don't say that? Because the announcer's jinx. Very next inning, well, there's a single up the middle, no more no-hitter.
That's also like I think that's the clear cut like way to learn about it because like that's also you just don't say that in baseball. Like whether you're a
Yeah.
fan, you're watching on TV,
It's
you're
like
in
an unwritten rule.
exactly. It really is. But I mean,
Yeah. That might have been like a not a bad example, but a worse example of it. There's so many other examples, but that's like the big thing that pops into my mind. It's like
that's a good
you
example.
don't talk about history until it happened.
No, absolutely not. Except I
So,
was okay. I say that as if I
and it's
wasn't.
tough to do. It's tough to do as a broadcaster.
Oh yeah, no,
Go
like
ahead.
I'll bring stuff up and I'll like or like even as a fan yesterday watching the Reds after we beat the Tigers and I was like, well, we'll see. We haven't won a
Hmm.
series. We lost game one in 39 consecutive tries. So I
Yeah,
kept bringing it up. I was like, that's
yeah.
probably a jinx, but
There was there was that. that they had going for them. I think there was another thing where it's like, I know they gave up the lead, or they went down. Wasn't like in the seventh inning they gave up those two runs. Like Ashcraft gave up two runs in the seventh. They going into the seventh inning, I think all year, if they're trailing, they haven't won one game. I
129.
think I don't know if they've had a situation like they did. I don't know if they had a situation like they did last yesterday where they give up a lead in the seventh or eighth and then come back and still win, but they're just not a rallying team. Like you said, it's they lose game one of a series, they're gonna lose the series, except for against the best team in baseball, I guess.
Yeah,
They're
sure. That
trailing
one.
after the sixth inning, they're gonna lose. Unless it's unless it's against the best team in baseball. It's just weird how they operate, but they're
And
playing
on the
good right now.
road. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, on best in baseball and on the road. But I mean, we traveled a bunch too with the Hamilton Joes, whether it
Mhm.
was back to your college town of Athens or up to Muskegon, Michigan. And I guess I'll just ask, like, what were some favorite moments, whether it was from your first summer or second summer with the Hamilton Joes, or some really good stories you can think about from your time with them?
Yeah, so I mean, on the road, as far as it goes, we didn't stay in any hotels my first year, because they weren't necessarily in a series format. They would just play one game in Grand Lake one night. The next night they'd be in Hamilton uh, playing against the Copperheads, and then the day after that they'd be playing the Cincinnati Steam. Like it wasn't like a three-game series like we had when you started. Um, but I definitely like the series aspect more. Um, because it's you're playing one team 3 days in a row versus going all over the place. And I mean it's like being a little kid, like going back to those travel ball days and just being in the hotel with the team and stuff, just doing whatever. I mean, those are some of my favorite moments in baseball growing up, as far as just being on the road. Um, the bus rides are awesome. Sometimes if you win, it's awesome. Um, like all the guys playing games in the back of the bus, and they include us, of course. I mean, you got you got your experiences with Moth. Um, but I mean, those are just some of the fun moments. Just when the whole team is just together. It's not all about baseball. It's not all about the sport. That it's more like the team bonding. I think there's not a specific moment that stands out to me from being with the Joes, but just like the overall aspect of just everybody just team bonding, that kind of stuff.
Absolutely. I think that's like the first thing I typically think of too, was like the bus rides, playing Moth, or like going out in the field, messing
Yeah.
around and talking to some of the
Yeah.
players. That's what I typically think of first. I know there's one thing, and I feel like I have to work it in. There's one thing that comes to mind for me always. Do you know what I'm getting at, maybe?
Uh, perhaps I should figure it out.
Yeah. If you have an
Maybe
idea,
not that.
no, it's that. I think it's that.
So yeah, I mean, if I'm thinking about what you're thinking about, there's just there's that one theme, that one phrase that was the theme of the summer that General Manager Daryl Grissom, um, he would always say it. He would tell us to do something at the when we get to the field every single day, whether it's going to hang a sponsor sign in the outfield or just whatever it is. He'd be like, figure it out. That was his main phrase, and that kind of just took off between you, me. Um, we had our official scorer up in the booth with us, is our age as well, Ryan. Why can't I think of his last name?
Rouse.
Yeah, Ryan Rouse. Ryan Rouse up there with us. It was just the whole game we're going back and forth, figure it out, figure it out, figure it out. And it's the name of our group chat right now. We have a group chat together. It's the name of our group chat. So it's
Figure it
just
out.
little things like that, man, that make broadcasting so great. Um, it's you just got to make it fun. A lot of people think it's stressful stuff. You you make it what it is, and something like that just kind of took off and figured out.
I mean, yeah, first of all, got to give Ryan a quick shout out. I mean, he was with us all summer long, and that's the type of stuff that does get us through a long season. I told you I was going to do this yesterday, and I ended up being serious. I have with me, I don't know if it's focused or you can see it,
There
but
you go.
go
You
backwards, but I figure it out
go.
tally
The
for
figure it out
this call because we said
tally.
we're gonna try to
The
work it
figure it
in.
out tally.
We
You gotta add three more. You gotta add three more right there.
got you. So now we're at 8 is by my
We just
count.
said three more times. You gotta add three more.
So yeah,
What did we set the over under at the beginning?
honestly, I don't know if I did, but I was guessing like 12 times at least.
12. So we still got some work to do.
We got some work to do. Don't worry. We've got some time left. We've got some time left. So we've brought up a bunch of your different experiences, whether it's working with the high schools or ESPN Plus or even the Hamilton Joes. And I mean, between doing all this, meeting a bunch of different people, learning a lot of new things. In your words, why would you say student journalism is important for people to pay attention to?
Hmm. You're asking the hard hitting questions this morning. I haven't even woken up yet.
I mean, had your cup of Joe.
Um, yeah, I nope, not yet. Oh, I see what you did there.
That is a good.
Um, Student journalism, um, paying attention to it. I mean, it's so important because of the I think the confidence level that it gives student journalists, right? I mean, obviously we're all students. We're not professionals at this. Like we're just trying to figure it out. I didn't even mean to do it, but we're just trying to figure it out in a way. And so like having people that we know are there and listening every single time we do a broadcast is so important because you know you're not talking to a wall, so to say. And I think just being able to provide feedback is so important, and that's such a big reason as to why it's important to be tuned into student journalism, and also the fact that like we're the ones that are actually going to school with these athletes. If we're talking about college athletes, right? We know all these athletes, maybe not as well as some others, but um, being able to tell stories from that point of view is maybe not something that you're going to get from bigger broadcasters on ESPN and stuff like that. So having that extra insight is also really cool to have too, that you might not get the same perspective from someone else. So I think it's important for many reasons, but those two stick out to me off the top of my head.
No, I love that aspect of what we do is like from the student side of like I've
Yeah.
been in a class of this guy or I've got a different story from a friend who's friends with this athlete or so and so
Yeah.
here. But I'll also ask is you're going into your senior year still at Ohio and after doing all that stuff, what are you looking to get out of most in your senior year?
Um, Probably I would say networking, just meeting new people, making new contacts. Because that's the biggest part of the broadcasting industry is who you know, and it's the same way for a lot, right? A lot of different industries, it's who you know, but more so I would say with broadcasting because it's such a hard field to get into. It's so competitive that um you got to know your people. So building that network is a big thing for me going into my senior year, and then obviously continue to get the reps because we're not all perfect. I'm not perfect. I know I still have a lot of work to do in broadcasting. Um, I mean, you got to get better. Yeah, every single day you wake up is a chance to get better, and you got to get better. So. But networking is the biggest thing for me going into my senior year, so I can hopefully come out with a job ready to go.
That's always the goal, right? Getting a job right out.
Yeah,
It's a little important.
that's a it's a pretty decent goal to have.
I think some would say that maybe yeah, some would say to figure out where you're going after college is pretty important. But I'm gonna throw you a bit of a curveball to
Hmm.
kind of end things off here, and I think it's a way of like I'll say the same thing. I've got a lot of work to do. Obviously, there's a lot of things I want to learn, but you've also come a long way in your career and your life as well. So if you were travel back in time and tell the kid that was listening to Marty Brenneman growing up that you're doing what you do now, what would be your message to him?
I don't think that I would believe it. Because like at that age, right? You're 9, 10, 11 years old and you're thinking about these guys that are on the radio and that are on TV and it's like that job seems impossible to get. And the fact that like as you get older and as you get more experience, you're like, okay, maybe that's not so impossible to get, right? So like being in front of the camera is never something that I was like too good at growing up. I was always the shy kid in class, never really talked that much, and I think that broadcasting has really just gotten me out of my shell in that sense. So if you told me that I was gonna be, if you told me at 10 years old that I was gonna be on camera as much as I have been, I don't think that I would believe it. Or maybe I would believe it but it would make me scared at the time because I was like, how am I gonna do that? Like, yeah, it's just there's just so many things that are people say that all the time, right? People say I wouldn't believe you, but just with how I was as a kid, with how shy and laid back I was as a kid, or the cats are being crazy right now. Um, with how shy and laid back I was as a kid, I just don't think that I would necessarily believe you.
No, absolutely. I mean, yeah, it's one of those things I think I would sit back and just be awestruck as a kid as well. So I completely get where you're coming from. I was also the shy kid in about every single class. So you mentioned the
Hmm.
networking is important. So what you want to get out of this next year. So why not start here? Have an opportunity to plug anything you want or give a shout out for the people to take a look at some of your work.
Yeah, so over on Instagram, I mean I need to keep it I need to get back on it and update it. Let me get him real
You're
quick
good. You're good.
because he is making me yeah. So yeah, he's gonna make a guest appearance with us too because I can't put him down.
Oh,
Um, here's Jax.
Jax.
Relax. You need to relax. Over on Instagram, Barnard Media is my handle. I've got some broadcast clips posted there. Barnard dot media. Um, you see some Joe's clips there. Some Ohio clips there. Um, other than that, I mean my main Instagram is just my name, Daniel Barnard, Daniel dot Barnard underscore, but that's not really broadcasting related. Um, over on Twitter, Daniel B1719. I'll post some links to some games there. Um, I've got a broadcast reel that's in my bio that people can go check out. Um, yeah, I'd say that's probably the biggest thing. That's another thing that I have to work on is my social media presence and making sure there's a lot of different outlets for people to access my work. But yeah, over on Instagram and Twitter are my biggest things for sure.
That's something I'm working on as well. And I'll make sure I link everything where this is posted, especially on YouTube. But Daniel, I don't think I have anything else for you. I really appreciate you sparing some time for me today.
Yeah. No, there's another funny story that I didn't get into was when I was doing my basketball sideline game at Moeller, my signature broadcast phrase came out the very first game, and it was they sent it down to the court for me to do a report on whatever I had. I mean, I don't know what I was talking about. Oh, the guys are fired up in the huddle. Like, cool. What else do you have for us? I was like, when I finished my report, I said, other than that, I got nothing. Back to you guys, like on air. It's like, other than that, I got nothing. That you're just you saying that. Other than that, I don't think I have anything else for you. That's just
Uh,
what it reminded me of.
Absolutely.
Uh,
No, that's a good one there.
little things like that you can take in broadcasting wherever you go.
Absolutely nothing. Well, I mean, I got nothing else. That or nothing. Say it again. Say it again.
Other than that, I got nothing.
Other than that, I got nothing. Daniel,
Other
you've
than
been
that, I got
amazing. I
nothing.
appreciate you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me on, Colin.
Absolutely. We end the figure it out tally at, well,
12? It
let's
was
see. I
that
gotta figure. I
sharp?
gotta figure it out what the number is. I
Oh, well,
gotta
there you
add one
go.
more.
There's
So we're at
13.
13.
You did that
We're
on
at 13
purpose. You did
now.
that on
We had
purpose.
to get the over. When in
You
doubt,
rigged it.
rigged.
There's
Rigged.
people with real money on this, Colin.
I, everyone who bet the under is gonna be hunting for me out there.
It
No,
was over, right? Like we finished it. The timer ran out.
I didn't hear the outro yet. I didn't hear the closing
Yeah.
bit. I
Nope.
didn't. I didn't hear
Nope.
no
I didn't
bell.
hear.
I didn't hear no bell the whole time. We got 13 on the figure it out
I
tally.
didn't hear no bell.
No, but I think now I might sound the bell. So again, Daniel, really appreciate you spending some time with me today.
Yeah, thank you, man. It was great to be on it.
You're going to want to hear Daniel on the call. You're going to hear him again here in the fall for a lot of Bobcats athletics and some other sporting events in the Athens, Ohio area. Or if you're not that patient, you just can't wait, go check out his broadcast reel. If you want to stay up to date with all upcoming episodes of The Student Beat, make sure to follow me on Twitter at C_Carithers33. We just walked The Student Beat. I'll see you next week for a brand new episode.